Good morning. All right. Thank you. It's 9:01, downbeat, and let's just address the elephant in the room, okay? I know you're looking at my face, and you're thinking to yourself, did he get in a fight with a shrub on the way to church this morning? And more importantly, did he lose? This is my attempt at face camo, war paint, and a poor one at that. But it will be memorialized in video forever, so it is what it is. Good morning and welcome to this year's 2016-2017 Rock Solid Convocation. You all look spectacular. Not that I can see any of you. You're all in camo. Speaking of which, I need to complete my look this morning. I feel a little underdressed, a little out of uniform. So we're going to take care of that. We're going to kick this uniform up a little rock solid notch. Always dicey when you're a speaker to do something complicated on stage like tie a bandana, especially if you're clumsy like me. And then to finish the look, I'm going to find out from the general later if this is approved attire. I'm certain it's not, and I probably owe him about 200 push-ups. My name is Brandon Webb. I'm from the Department of Communications here with the best district in Texas, Bryan ISD. Yeah. And our theme today, if you've been living under a rock lately, is rock solid. Give me a rock. Give me a solid. How about a rock? How about a solid? Ooh, man, that feels good. You're going to hear a lot more about that today, what that theme means, why it was selected by our fabulous superintendent as our theme for the year ahead. But up first this morning, I'd like to thank our amazing and gracious host, Central Baptist Church, and their wonderful team, Jacob, the rest of the Central Baptist crew. Just amazing. Pastor Osborne, the pastoral leadership team here at the church for hosting us year after year. Thank you so much. And either I'm shrinking or this podium's getting taller every year. One of the two is happening. I think it's going to be chin height next year. We'll see. You are all a bedrock here at Central Baptist Church. You're a bedrock of rock solid faith in our community, and we appreciate so much that you host us every year. Next, I'd like to recognize our Board of Trustees for their tireless support and dedication. Joining us here, front row Joe himself, the president of the board, Dr. Douglas Warneberger. The Mr. William T. Trey Moore III, board vice president. The lovely and gracious Felisa Benford, secretary. Mr. David Stasny with the best moves of any board member in Texas. There he is. And of course, we have two fantastic additions to our board. This year, let me introduce, you know her well, Ruthie Waller. And ladies and gentlemen, adding his fine intellect to our Board of Trustees, we appreciate the presence of Mr. Mark McCall. Every one of them wearing camo today, so you guys are great. Thanks for being team players. Over here we have our number 2 in command, the Rock himself, our Deputy Superintendent, Dr. Tim Roque. Our Associate Superintendent for Teaching and Learning with one of the finest intellects I have ever had the pleasure to work with, Miss Barbara Ibarra. It's $20 a mention. Okay, well, if Barbara has the brains, Amy has the money. Ladies and gentlemen, our Assistant Superintendent for Business Services and the Moral Compass of Bryan ISD, Amy Drost. And right over here to my right, a lawyer people actually like, our school attorney, Harry Wright. Let me introduce our Executive Director of Instructional Support, JJ, Julie Johnson. She is dynamite. And we have 3 Executive Directors of Human Resources, the one and only Carol Kuhn, Crystal Goodman, and Mr. Leroy Morales, right down front. Somewhere back in the back, the best voice in Bryan ISD. Yeah, and I do mean that. Lance Angel, Athletic Director. He should actually be voicing this thing. It's phenomenal. He speaks from his toes. Beautiful resonance. You don't picture that. It's awkward for all of us. Director of Construction Services, the one and only Jeff Windsor. He only has one responsibility in our district. That's it, one. Just managing a $132 million bond project. No big deal. All right, now how about the man, the legend, the way of life, the superintendent of the year by every organization you can think of that matters, the taller, better-looking bald guy in the district. How about it for our fearless, rock-solid superintendent, Dr. Tommy Wallace? Sitting next to our superintendent, Dr. Wallace, is our keynote speaker, a true American patriot, a man who has served his nation in times of great peril. And though retired as a brigadier general, he continues to serve today, preparing young people to continue to believe in and fight for a world where every child has the freedom to be educated, boys and girls. His service brings us blessings of freedom and equality in our great country. A bona fide hero in our midst, friends, and sir, you honor us with your presence. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the Commandant of the Texas A&M Corps of Cadets, Brigadier General Joe Ramirez. You know, today's event would not have been possible without the support, the help from many, many folks. I could not possibly do enough to say thank you to Mr. William Traymore III, board member who supplied almost all of the camo gear you see on stage today. He helped our superintendent out with his fantastic customized look. Mr. Moore, thank you so much. Sabrina Fronterhouse, Matt Kennedy, Daryl Taylor, Tiffany Lee, the team that made this all work together yesterday and in the days leading up to this. And of course, you know, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Lester Banks. I mean, every event you go to, thank you, Lester, you know? It's amazing. And so to everyone who played a role in today's event and to all of those of you who have come to our fabulous convocation today, I say to you, as in years past, muy bien, mucho gusto, and muchas gracias. All right, on your feet now, if you would, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone, please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the National Anthem. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Joining us now on stage for the performance of our national anthem, we are so blessed to have Alex Medlock from Bryan High School, director of the Bryan ISD Choral Group. We have Senior Grayson McGee, Junior Andres Rea. We have the superintendent's son, Luke Wallace. Yeah, really. We're honored by their presence. Gentlemen, when you're ready.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Which one of you hit that bass note? Wow. Whew. Talk about chills. That was Bryan High Senior Grayson McGee, Junior Andres Reda, Junior Luke Wallace, the son of our rock solid soup, and of course directed by the one and only Alex Medlock. Thank you so much. At this time, it's my distinct honor and privilege to turn things over to my boss, the man who creates the vision, the legend for our district each year. He helps us set our goals, directions, and guidance, and this year, boy, he could not have chosen a better theme. It is the perfect year, it is the perfect theme, and he's the perfect man for the job. It's my pleasure to call now to the convocation for 2016-2017 our superintendent, Dr. Tommy Wallace.
Well, in honor, oh, thank you. You made me rock solid already. In honor of General Joe Ramirez, howdy. And as a Red Raider, you know how hard that is. But for you, Joe, giggle. Brandon, thank you. Thank you and your team for all the effort that you've done. I want to thank all the people that have brought the awards behind us. We'll talk more about that in just a few minutes. But I want to welcome you to a fantastic new year in Bryan Independent School District. Yeah. You know, the accountability rating came out last night, and we're proud of Bryan Independent School District. And I mean, to start off with rock solid, where is Fannin Elementary School? You know, to start this off, last year, if you don't know it, Fannin was IR. They got out of IR. You have worked tirelessly. We appreciate you very much for what you've done for our children. Congratulations, Fannin. You are rock solid. Where's Jones Elementary? You too, Jones Elementary School. IR last year, you worked very hard, very diligently. Again, you have proven once again that high expectations work very well, and you've done a great job. You've got a great leader. Congratulations, Jones. You are no longer IR. You met standard. Milam, where are you? If you don't know it, Milam was IR the last 2 years under the direction and leadership and hard work of this staff of Dr. Hugo Ibarra. They are no longer IR. They are out of IR after 2 years. I can tell y'all practice that a lot. Way to go. Bryan ISD, where are you? Stand up, everybody. No, stand up, everybody. You'll be sitting long enough. Hey, Bryan ISD met standard again, and not only did you meet standard, you did a fantastic job across the district, and you did best things for our kids. You taught them hard. You taught them well. You're the best staff in the whole wide world with the best leaders, and Bryan ISD is no doubt rock solid. Congratulations from the board. Congratulations from the community, and congratulations from the bottom of my heart for what you do for our children. Congratulations. Good job. You met standard. Good job. Thank you. Y'all can sit down. You're probably wondering, why in the world did we pick rock solid? Why in the world did we pick camo? You know, I had some females come up to me and they said, you know, they just don't have cute camo yet. And I disagree, because all of you ladies wearing camo look pretty cute. So if you're wearing camo, you got cute camo on. No, why are we in camo? First of all, Brandon did a great job of talking about this. First of all, you know, we're in a world right now that's not rock solid. Whether it's politics, whether it's unrest in our communities, wherever it is, we're not rock solid as a country. We need to be rock solid. And things are going on in our worlds that we have absolutely no control over. There are things going on that are just strange in our world. But you know what we have total control over right now is what happens in our classrooms and in our schools to make our students rock solid. Even though we may not have a rock solid country right now, we're in some turmoil. But you know what? Bryan ISD is rock solid. And so we're wearing camo to honor those men and women who do serve in the armed forces, who do keep us very safe while we sleep at night, while we do what we do. Politics aside, those men and women who have served and are serving are absolute heroes to me and to this country. And for that, I say thank you. So, you know, it's not just the men and women who serve, it's also the family members. There's a lot of people who are affected when somebody goes overseas. There's a lot of people affected when we go to war. And so what I would like to do right now is, if you have ever served in any of the armed forces, if you have family members that have served in the armed forces, if you would please stand and let us say thank you. Wow, look at the number of that. Wow. Well, please tell them on behalf of Bryan ISD we appreciate their service, and tell them how much we love them. Why else are we wearing camo? Well, you know, you think about camouflage, you think about hunting, you think about all those things, you think about war. Look, we're not in war. Another thing that we do in Bryan ISD and what armed forces do is they unify. They unify. If you look out there, I mean, I can't already see you. You mean all of you in camo? I can't already see half of you. So my point of it is we unify. And that's what Bryan ISD is going to do this year. We're going to continue to unify the students, the staff of Bryan Independent School District. But we are in a combat. We're in a combat against poverty. Yes? We're in a combat where we're going to fight poverty. We're going to fight that some of our children come to our schools and can't quite know the ABCs, that they don't quite understand the shapes and the colors. And we're going to start making them rock solid from the ground level, and we're going to have them ready when they leave kinder, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, all the way up to where they walk across that stage. They will be rock solid for life. Excuse me. And if I keep coughing today, please forgive me. I'll try not to. Hadn't been feeling great, so my cough may come out, and if it does, I apologize. It'll come loud, so please turn it down. Also, the theme of rock solid and the theme of camo, whether you, in the armed forces, they are always on the same page. They're always on the same page. Whether you are Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, Coast Guard, they all still serve, and they all still serve with one purpose. And that's what Bryan Independent School District is going to do this year, and what you did last year, which is serve with one purpose. And if you look what's happened with our scores, if you look at what's behind me, I want you to take a look at this right here. If that doesn't give you chills about the successes of Bryan Independent School District and the successes of our children, as my father used to say, you need to check your oil. I want you to look up here. These are just a few of the awards, just a few, of what our students, under your tutelage, under your leadership, under your mentorship, and under your time, have accomplished. If you look over here, you have our sports trainers who are nationally certified. That's a huge honor. You come through here, we have all of our UIL academics. We have all of our UIL choir, band, orchestra. We have down at the bottom, we have a ton of stuff from our CTE departments. We come over here, we look over here, we got FFA, we got drill team, we got cheerleaders. We got the Capturing Kids' Hearts national one of national schools of the year. Only 5 in the nation. Johnson was one of them. Way to go, Johnson. We have, which I've never held, so I want to hold it at least once. Dadgum. Hey, man, we've got a national, a world champion boxer. I've always wanted to hold one of these. But, I mean, think about it. From children's skeet shooting, from spelling bees to whatever, you name it up here, our children in Bryan ISD are rock solid and world champions. So let me talk to you just a little bit more about Rock Solid, and that is, this year is a year like none other in Bryan ISD. This is a very strange year. In all the years of Bryan Independent School District's history, I don't think anything like what we're about to undertake has ever taken place. We are fixing to realign our entire district. Okay, with realignment, with all of the construction, with all the things that are going on in Bryan ISD today, as we speak, that causes change. And what does change cause? Say again? Anxiety. What does anxiety do? Yeah, y'all are laughing up there. I don't know what department you are, but I can guess. Hey, man, you have to be rock solid this year. Well, you have to be rock solid because with all the changes that are going on, we have to have everyone ready to take Sam Rayburn and Jane Long and turn them into intermediate schools. We have to take SFA and Davila and prepare them to become our 2 middle schools, and all of our elementary schools are affected. What does that do? Well, that tells you that there's going to be some things that go out there, and I'm going to tell you there's going to be bumps along the road, and we need to be unified as one to get through this. And if you have any question whatsoever, I'm asking you, please, come to us and ask us. Come to us and ask your principals. Come and ask, because I need you rock solid. The board needs you rock solid. And more importantly, the students of Bryan ISD need you more rock solid this year than any other year in Bryan's history. We need you to be rock solid. And there are going to be bumps in the road. Really, I had a choice in my head. I put the construction, please be patient because we're working for you, or rock solid. But this is the year that we are going to be rock solid, even more so, and last year was a great prelude to that. But you know, it's not about the changes, it's about the mindset. When we go through this, we're talking about changing of 5th grade teachers going to an intermediate school. We're talking about 6th grade teachers going to middle schools, new staffs. Justin Smith, brand new principal at Sam Rayburn. Cody Satterfield, brand new principal at Jane Long Middle School. You know what? They need you because they're a first-year principal, and at the end of the year, think about this for just a second. Their entire staff changes at the end of this school year, and not one child that they're serving at Sam Rayburn and Jane Long will be on their campuses next year. Not one. That causes anxiety, that causes stress, and we have to stand together, unified as one, when all of these things take place, so we are rock solid and we are one. So when great things happen this year, our brand this year, if you will, we've already started. If you tweet something out, if you put something on Facebook, you put something on social media, what I want you to do, please, I'm asking you, put hashtag rock solid. Because that's what we're going to be. And I'm going to tell you, it doesn't matter if you're the superintendent. It doesn't matter if you're a teacher. It doesn't matter if you're a board member. It doesn't matter if you're a community member. There are people in your lives that make you feel more and more rock solid. Have you ever been a part of something when you walk in, and as soon as you walk in, these people make you just give you goose pimples and just make you feel good? Have y'all had that? Okay, look at the person next to you and say, you're that one. You know what's funny? Is this mine? You know what's funny? I got to see all your faces, and some of y'all are like, I'm not saying that person. I was watching, some of y'all are like, no. Some of y'all are married to each other, and y'all are sitting there saying, y'all are sitting, no. Malones. Did I say that out loud? No, but you know what? There are people across our district, and all of you are this way. Man, you make me feel rock solid. You make me feel good when I walk on your campuses. You make me feel good when I walk in. But there are a few people I want to recognize today, and I want them to come up here. There are a few people that have just really, when I come in, they're continually positive. They're continually upbeat. And they continually, if I'm in a bad mood or if I'm on their campus, there's something about them. They just bring out that positivity. They bring out the good. The first person I want to bring up today is Mr. Kevin Davis, the BHS custodian from Bryan High School Fieldhouse. Kevin, if you come up here, please. Are you nervous now?
Something else.
You're something else. He goes, you're something else. I'm like, you're something else. Look. What did he say?
Slim, that's my nickname.
Slim? I thought you were talking to me. I was proud for a second. I thought you were talking to me, but
No.
you were? Hey, Kevin, it doesn't matter what time of the day or night you walk in that field house. It does not matter. This man is working. It's early in the morning. It's late at night. It is after Rudder games. It's after Bryan games. It's continually working. He works 24/7, it seems like. We've got him a little extra help so he can actually see his family. But I'm going to tell you, in the 6 years I've been here, I have never seen Kevin without a smile on his face. And Kevin, on behalf of everybody here, I want to say thank you, because if everybody had your attitude, we'd even be more rock solid, man. Thank you very much. Thank you. The man sitting right next to him is another one. He's from our maintenance operation department. Dennis Shoemaker, come on up here real quick, please, if you would. Schumacher. I apologize. I'm not rock solid. I can't read. Schumacher. Hey, man, let me tell you about this guy. Y'all come over here, and I want you to see him all. You don't recognize him right now because he doesn't have his hat on. Okay? He has a hat on, and he wears a glove, because you may not know it, but this man plays the guitar like, B.B. King. This man can play the guitar. So if you want somebody to perform for you, he's free. Is that all right?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, good. Okay. He moves stuff in his department. He and his crew, they move all this heavy equipment continually. And no matter what, in the 6 years I've been here, I have never seen him without a smile, and him asking me, Dr. Walsh, you all right? You good? Every time. He takes his hat off, and I'm like, you have to take your hat off, man. He takes his hat off, he shakes my hand, and he says, Dr. Walsh, are you okay? And he says, it's just an honor to work in Bryan Independent School District. He's told me that once. He's told me 10 times. Dr. Wallace, it's an honor to work in Bryan ISD. And man, if we had 2,400 people in our district that every day, like Dennis said, it's an honor to work for Bryan ISD, and that's including me. we'd be a lot better off. We'd be a lot better off in society. We'd be a lot better off in Bryan ISD. And I'm going to tell you, sir, you're a good man and you're an inspiration to all of us. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. His CDs are available outside for $10 a piece, and I get 20% of the cut. That's the real reason you came up here, Dennis. So anyway, I appreciate you very much. Hey, real quickly, bring up Dorothy Yepes. Come up here, Dorothy. Darn, does she make camo look professional? Let me tell you about Dorothy Yepes. Dorothy is our receptionist at the admin building. In the 6 years I've been here, I have heard her cussed. I have heard her yelled at. I have heard people speak to her like she was gum beneath their shoes. And you're laughing. I'm telling you, I've heard it. I've heard it on the telephone. And not one time in 6 years have I ever heard her raise her voice and be anything but loving, generous, and kind to every single person that comes in our building. And principals in schools, you know this. If your receptionist is not welcoming, if your receptionist is not loving and a relationship builder, you know how bad it's going to be when they walk in that office. And I'm going to tell you what, this young lady right here, not only does she make camo look good, she makes my life great, because when they come up hot, she's de-escalated them and they're not mad anymore. And Dorothy, I'm going to tell you, this is another thing about her. Every single day, she stops what she's doing and she checks on me like my mom. How are you feeling? Dr. Wallace, you look a little flushed today. Do you need some rest? And her first question, she's like basically checking my temperature every single morning. And I love you, Dorothy, and the district loves you, and we appreciate what you do, and thanks for de-escalating all those parents that sometimes call not quite happy. Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you, dear. Sheila Jones, come on up here. We're kind of tending to the right, so let's go to the left this time. Yeah, we're going to go a different direction. Do y'all know Sheila Jones? Sheila Jones. What? Mine too. That's why you always pray in the office with me, isn't it? Yes. Sheila. Every single time somebody comes in, I've never heard her not in a good mood and smiling. You call with a question about technology, she smiles, and technology will make you mad. Technology will make you pull her hair out. In the 6 years, it's just a constant theme of the individuals that I'm bringing up here of happiness, and there's a difference between happiness and joy. Listen to me. Happiness is Christmas Day when a little kid opens something or a dog opens and plays. That's happiness. There's a difference between happiness and joy. This young lady right here has got joy, and it spreads. And every time I see her, there's a presence about her that does fill me and the people that she works with and the people that she sees with joy. And that's a complete different thing than happiness. And you know what I'm talking about. And so, Sheila, on behalf of everybody, thank you, because you spread that joy, and I just love you dearly. Thank you, Sheila. Don't fall, though. Don't fall. Melissa Martin, come up. All right, Melissa is our purchaser for the district. So she buys everything for us. Everything. And with all the new construction going on, I will tell you that's a lot of furniture. Melissa in our office, I will tell you, and the people that talk to her on the telephone, and the reason I know this is because the people that order, and that's campus secretaries, they call you, and principals talk about how positive you are and how you make their lives much, much easier. I will also tell you that I come up on Saturdays and Sundays and work, and guess who's working? She is. Okay? She works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and guess what? This is her last for last semester before she receives her degree in business marketing, business management. And so, yes, not only does she do a full-time job and have a family, well, at least she says she has a family. I know when she sees them because she's at work all the time or studying. But Melissa, you're an inspiration to all of us. You make our lives better, and we want to thank you from the bottom of our heart. Thank you. Okay, and we'll need, she will send out her email or her address. We're having a graduation party this year. You're all invited, so be careful going down. All right. All right, the next one. You know, it's funny, we were talking about themes of blood pressure and things of that nature. Miss Parks, Finette Parks from Johnson, come up here, please. Don't fall. I need you well, too. This lady, if you walk in, a lot of y'all, when you walk in Johnson Elementary School, she immediately talks to every single person. She speaks to them. She makes them feel good. She's a nurse. That's her job. She makes people feel good, but she goes above and beyond. Not only have I seen her in Johnson be a nurse, I have seen her be a counselor. I have heard her talking to parents in her office when I've walked by, and you've helped more people than you even realize. And a lot of people have come to me and told me how much that you have meant to them and how much you have helped them through things. And I want to say thank you. And I had a great time getting a sunburn with you Saturday at the football field. So thank you very much. She's the best. Thank you very much. We appreciate you very much. All right, and our last one, Miss Whitney Moore from Milam. Don't fall. Look at you. You're like, what am I doing? After she griped me out yesterday. I'm teasing. All right, let me tell you about Whitney. Whitney is at Milam. She's been at Milam for years. This is the only place that she's taught is at Milam Elementary School. Over the past 6 years, I have had numerous conversations with her about the thing. Here, they want to take a picture of you. Get on this side. Oh, get on this side. There we go. Yeah. She has been with us for, how many years have you been in Bryan?
This will be my 5th year.
5th year. So you came the year I came then. This is your, okay. So every time, I've talked to her on several different occasions about scores, about the obstacles that students at Milam have to overcome. And basically, they're the obstacles that students in Bryan have to overcome. It's not isolated to Milam. But I've talked to her several times. I've been in her classroom, I don't know how many times, been in meetings with her to talk about instruction. And I'm going to tell you, there are other districts that had sought her out numerous times to leave, and she has chose not to leave, and she told me she will never leave Bryan. She says, I love Bryan. I love these kids. I love what we can do for these children. And I want to tell you, when you have a person tell you these types of things as a superintendent, and there's a lot of you out there, these are just a few, I'm telling you, it makes your heart feel good because she has fought through the unacceptable for 2 years. I've seen her tears. I've seen her frustrations. So in essence, what I've done is I've seen your tears and I've seen your frustrations of all of you because teaching is hard. Teaching is not easy. But people like Whitney and yourselves are loyal. They're rock solid. And Whitney, I appreciate you because I know you could have gone other places. You've chose not to. And we are so glad you're here, and we're glad that you helped lead that school out of IR. Good job. Thank you. So, this year, what happened? What did you do? You what? To stand up here? Well, your face has to come up again. I'm teasing. Well, this didn't seem like you were nervous. I can't wait to see it on Facebook tonight. Ms. Parks, will you check her blood pressure? This year, we are going to be rock solid. It's going to be the best year in Bryan ISD's history, but I do ask for your patience. I do ask for you to be patient with us. And if there is anything as a parent, many of us have kids. if there's anything as a parent, as a community member, or a teacher that you think that we need to have this school year to transition into next school year, let your principals know. Let me know. Let somebody know. So at the end of the year, when we transition and change schools and change people, it's as seamless as possible. And let me tell you, the last thing, we are in a fight, if you will, against public perception and that public schools are not doing well. We are going to continue to fight that. We are going to continue to prove people wrong. We are going to continue to have student success just like this right here. We are going to continue to be rock solid. So my prayer for you each and every day is that you have the wisdom, the discernment, and the strength to do what needs to be done for the kids of Bryan ISD. God bless you, and I pray that you have a fantastic school year this year. Thank you very much. I got to stay on script. I'm supposed to introduce you, Joe. I forgot I was introducing Joe. Guys, let me tell you, now you're in for the real treat. Brigadier General Joe Ramirez is not only a patriot, and Bryan did a great job of introducing him earlier, not only is General Ramirez a true patriot, not only is he a true, in my mind, hero, not only is he a great leader, but I consider him a true friend. And when I asked him to come speak at Convocation, his first question was, well, what do you want me to talk about? And I said, I told him what we're talking about. And he said, do I wear my dress stuff or do I wear my camo? I said, no, we're rock solid. We're going to wear camo. And so, but I want to tell you, the first person of color to ever lead the Corps of Cadets at Texas A&M University, first one ever. The reason I asked him also to speak is because when you look at Texas A&M University, you're seeing more and more men and women of color getting into the Corps of Cadets. I have seen it. I have watched it. I've seen the spirit of Aggie Land personally since I've been here. It's addictive. It is. I didn't say I was converting. I just said it's addictive. But anyway, I wanted General Ramirez to come speak to you because I've heard him talk to me about some things, and he's going to talk to you about them today, which I think is very apropos to what we're going to do this school year. And I will tell you that it's my honor and my privilege to introduce a true hero and a friend, General Joe Ramirez.
Howdy. I'm hoping this technology works. Everybody hear me all right? All right. Well, first off, yes, I served in the military for 31 years, and yes, I'm a big believer in a strong defense in our country, but I'm also a huge believer in education. And I think I'm blessed to be in a room full of heroes right here. Give yourselves a round of applause. There are many of you here who are veterans who had the opportunity to go and serve abroad and have done some phenomenal things. And I will tell you, for those of you that touch our young people every day, whether it's in the classroom, on the playground, in the gym, in the cafeteria, in my humble opinion, you have just as big an impact on our country, if not more, every day by what you do in touching these young people that will one day rise up and grow up to become the leaders of our communities, of our state, and our nation. And so for that, I'm very, very thankful. I'm very grateful. And by the way, I'm the father of 5 children. There were many, many times when I would look at my children and go, God, I'm failing as a father. You know, I mean, there were many times when I thought this generation of young people just didn't get it. And I thought that we as a society were failing. That was until I served in places like Baghdad and Mosul and Kandahar and Bagram. I got a chance to watch young people, probably young people that many of you taught, do some phenomenal things. And there's some very, very dire situations. And I'm going to tell you right now, as far as Joe Ramirez is concerned, we are raising a great generation of young people. we are educating a great generation of young people who will one day lead this country into the future and do some phenomenal things. And at a time when I think our country needs leadership probably more than ever before, it gives me great comfort in dealing with the 2,600 young men and women that I get to deal with every day at Texas A&M University. I think our country is in great hands for the future, thanks in large part to what you do every day with these young people, many of whom probably don't feel they have a chance, but you give them hope. And that's what it's all about. So I'm going to talk a little bit. Have we got our slides queued up? Very good. I'm not a technology kind of guy. That's not my thing. I normally have an aide de camp that does all that for me. So I'm going to talk a little bit about change in leadership. Tommy talked to me about some of the change that's about to take place in your district. And I will tell you, if you haven't already guessed it, the only constant in life is change. It changes every single day. And for many, that can be difficult. It can be tenuous. It can cause anxiety and chaos. But you've got to learn how to deal with that. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. This is one of my favorite quotes. Failure is not fatal. Failure to change can be. Okay, and I want everybody to think for a minute about what your environment looks like today versus what it looked like 5 years ago. If you don't think change is taking place, it's taking place every day. I just transitioned from a BlackBerry to an iPhone. That was a significant emotional event for me. I just got to tell you, I walked into the store and I said, I want that phone that talks to you. And of course, the guy looked at me like I had an appendage growing out of my ear. And I said, I don't know what the name of it is, but I know it talks to you. And I want that phone that talks to you. And the thing that bothers me the most is that my wife has an iPhone also. But hers has 4G. Mine has 3G. Okay? And it makes me mad, unbelievably mad, the fact that she has that one extra G, and I have no idea what that means. But I want that one G that she's got. She's got one more G than me, and man, that's not right. So change is constant. I mean, just look in your environment today and all that's changed, and you will see that change is happening every day. Sometimes we just don't realize it. But you've got to be ready to adapt to it. If you're going to succeed, you've got to be able to deal with change. There we go. And I'm just a couple examples. Corporate America. When I was coming out of college, they wanted people that, would show up for work, could follow orders, and could do the job. And look at some of the things you're looking at now. Think critically. What the heck does that mean? Complex tasks, work collaboratively. You probably see more than ever before that this generation work together in teams and groups far more than they work individually. I see it at the college level all the time. It's a different change in how corporate America views young people coming out of high school and college today. That's one of the adaptations we've had to make over the past 20, 30 years. And it continues to change primarily because of technology. And it will continue to evolve and change in ways that we have no idea how it's going to affect us in the future. All I know is that I just bought a 65-inch flat panel, HG, LD, ABC, so I can watch Texas A&M football. And it looks like you're right there because you can see it's almost like 3D and the players, and it's scary sometimes. All right? I never would have imagined having that capability just 5 years ago. So change is ever constant. This is the world I dealt with. I grew up, when I left Texas A&M University, it was the Soviet Union. I miss those guys. Life was so much easier with the Soviet Union, You knew how you were going to fight those guys. You knew where you were going to fight them. It was all high intensity, tanks, artillery, and it was easy. Well, we went to Iraq and Afghanistan, and things changed dramatically for us. Unconventional warfare, asymmetric warfare, counterinsurgency, having to deal with local populations, winning hearts and minds. Those were things we hadn't talked about since Vietnam. It changed our world dramatically for those of us in uniform. I mean, things changed rapidly for us in ways that we had never anticipated. All right, change. And we had to adapt to that pretty quickly. In some cases, we were sending young infantry platoon leaders to go out there and become pseudo-mayors in villages, something we had never trained them for. And yet they responded extremely well. Change and adaptation. This is a quote from the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and you can see how things have changed with respect to what the expectations are out there of our young people, especially those going in the military. It's a different environment. And the bottom line is, if you aren't prepared to change, you will fall by the wayside and become irrelevant quickly. That's just the way it is. Your classrooms have changed. I mean, gone are the days, I think, of the blackboard and the chalk. Anybody still got those? I miss that too. You know, and trust me, I cleaned a lot of erasers in my day. But things have changed dramatically, and we need to. We need to keep pace with the world. It's the 21st century. Things have changed. Technology has taken a great hold on our world, and it's going to continue to affect us long into the future, and we have to change and adapt with it. Everybody loves to say, only the strong survive. Well, if that were the case, we'd still have dinosaurs walking around. All right? That is not the case. Those who adapt are the ones that survive. You don't believe me? I grew up in a house that had this thing called roaches. They've been around for millions of years. Millions of years. Those little bugs. They've survived millions and millions of years. Why? They adapt. They change. They know how. Plus, they multiply like rabbits. I mean, it's. But anybody, it's those that can adapt and change that survive. That's just the way it is. And so change is one of those things we have to accept and embrace, and more importantly, become a part of the solution and not part of the problem by trying to fight it, because it's going to happen eventually. So what is it that makes the difference? In my opinion, leadership. Good leadership makes all the difference when it comes to dealing with change. Good leadership makes all the difference in a lot of things. I used to say that if I had a morale problem in one of my outfits, I had a leadership problem. It wasn't a morale issue, it was a leadership issue. You know, I used to tell young commanders that were just taking over an outfit, I tell them, you have lost the right to complain in public. You no longer have that privilege, that luxury. You don't have that anymore. Because if your soldiers hear you complaining, it'll take about 30 seconds and they'll be complaining just like you. Well, the boss doesn't like it. Well, I don't like it either. Okay, leadership makes all the difference, especially when it comes to dealing with change and a lot of other issues that you face on a daily basis. And oh, by the way, I remind our young people, still the number one thing that employers are looking for in employees coming out of high school and college today. We need leadership. And you guys are going to make all the difference when it comes to shaping and molding these future leaders for our communities, our state, and our nation. Now, a lot of people think that because I'm a military officer that I'm going to use some dead general's quote when it comes to leadership. I don't. I use this one right here because I think it captures the essence of what good leadership is all about. And I break it down to what I call the 4 No's. Not the 4 N-O's, the 4 K-N-O-W's. Know yourself, know your people, know your job, and know your priorities. Know yourself. What are my strengths and weaknesses? How do I maximize my strengths and minimize my weaknesses? Know my people. What are their strengths and weaknesses? Who are the ones I know I can depend on every single time to get it done? Who are those that you have to kind of nudge a little bit? And who are those you got to put a boot in a certain part of their body every now and then to get the job done? Don't mean to offend anybody there. I wear boots. All right? Know your people. Know your job. Be an expert at your job. You should be an expert at what you do. And more importantly, you should be an expert in what your people do. In the military, we had an old adage that went, the soldiers do well what the commander checks. Well, it's kind of hard to check if you don't know what your people are doing and how they do their job. And oh, by the way, knowing your boss's job is important too. It was not unusual in places like Iraq and Afghanistan to take a young lieutenant and say, you're taking command of B Company tomorrow because the B Company commander was just killed. And you don't have time at that moment to say, well, I don't know what it means to command. I don't know how to do that job. Doesn't work like that. So knowing your job is critical. Knowing the job of the people who work for you is critical. And knowing the job of the person over you is critical also. And then know your priorities. And you know this probably better than anybody. On any given day, there's about 85 different things you've got to get done. And that's probably a low number for some of you. Okay, but you know also that if you try to do them all, you'll never get any of them done well. So one of the best things you can do for your people is prioritize for them. Okay, when I was a brigade commander in Fort Hood, Texas with the 1st Cavalry Division, I had 2,500 soldiers under my command. And every Monday when I walked into the office, I had a big whiteboard outside my office. And I put the commander's top 5 for the week. I chose 5. You pick whatever number works best for you. I chose 5. Commander's top 5. And I would put 5 things up there that I said, if we do nothing else this week, we're going to get these 5 things done. So anybody could walk by my office and see, what's the commander's top 5 this week? They all knew. It was no secret. Okay? Now, it helps if your priorities align with your boss's priorities. That's always a good thing, too. But one of the best things you can do for your people is prioritize for them so that they understand what's important this week, so they're not trying to do 85 different things. They know my focus is on the 2, the 3, the 5, the 10, whatever it is you deem appropriate. Know yourself, know your people, know your job, know your priorities. And that last piece on there in that quote, if you could throw that back up there, keeping a cool head under stress. I don't have to talk to you about stress. I know you deal with stress every single day when dealing with our young people that you're trying to educate and provide a good environment for, many of whom do not come from a very good environment themselves. But good leaders have got to know how to keep a cool head under stress, because the expectation is that when times are toughest, you are the one that will see people through it, period. And I've seen 22, 23-year-old young men and women do some phenomenal things under some of the most stressful conditions you could imagine. And it all comes down to leadership. That's what good leaders do. Keep a cool head under stress. Next slide. Oh, yeah, I keep forgetting I've got this. I tell you, I need an aid. Anybody know who this is? Sully. In fact, they're getting ready to make a movie about him, as I understand. I've seen some previews. Sully, Texas boy, by the way. Denison, Texas. Yep. He went to the U.S. Air Force Academy. He wasn't good enough to get into Texas A&M, so he went to the U.S. Air Force Academy. That's my interpretation, at least. Graduated in 1975 and went and joined the Air Force, flew F-4 Phantoms for the Air Force for 5 years. He got out of the Air Force in 1980 and went to fly for U.S. Airways for the next 30 years. In January 2009, he was the pilot for Flight 1549 that was leaving New York's LaGuardia Airport, headed for Charlotte, North Carolina. And not long after that plane took off, that plane hit a flock of birds and knocked out both engines. So here he is piloting this plane several thousand feet above the earth, 155 souls on board, and he's got no power at all. Now, had Joe Ramirez been the pilot of that plane at that moment, it would have been, oh my God, we're all going to die. Where are the parachutes? How do I get out of this thing? If you listen to the radio transmissions between Sully and the tower gets on the radio and says, okay, we're going to divert you to heading 1234. We'll get you to make an emergency landing at X airport. We got emergency crew standing by. We're all set for you. Go ahead. Sully comes back in a voice no more excited than this and says, I can't do that. I have no power. I'm not going to be able to make it to that airport. I'm going to have to land the plane in the river. And this man took that plane with no power, glided it, set it down on the Hudson River, brought it to a stop. The doors pop open. Everybody gets off that plane. Sully walked up and down that plane twice to make sure everybody had gotten off before he got off. 155 people survived that day because that man knew how to keep a cool head under stress. That's leadership. That's what good leaders do. Now, I'm going to ask you the same way I ask the young people when they're getting ready to graduate. How do you think you're going to respond when your Flight 1549 moment comes? Because everybody has a Flight 1549 moment. Many of you have probably already had yours, if not multiple Flight 1549 moments. You know, and I ask the young people, how do you think you'll respond? Because our hope is that you'll respond as well as Sully did. That you'll have the courage and the cool-headedness to be able to respond as effectively as he did. That is what good leaders do. Keep a cool head under stress. Golden rule of leadership. Now, I graduated from Texas A&M University in 1979. And I graduated, yeah, amen to that, class of 79. Graduated in the morning at G. Riley White Coliseum. I still observe a moment of silence every time I walk by where it used to stand. And that afternoon, I commissioned into the United States Army. And it was a proud day for my family because I was the first member of my family to go to college. And my mom and dad were there. And, of course, here I am at my commissioning ceremony. I've got my uniform on, and my mom and dad are pinning on my gold bars of a second lieutenant. My mom, of course, is crying because she thinks I'm immediately going to Vietnam, even though the war was over. My dad, who's an Army veteran, is putting on the other one, and he said, son, I have one bit of advice for you before you go out to become a leader in our Army. And I said, what's that, Dad? He said, take care of your men, and your men will take care of you. And that served me well for 31 years, whether I was commanding a 12-man platoon or a 12,000-man division, peacetime and in wartime. You take care of your people, and your people will take care of you. I deployed a battalion to northern Kuwait, right on the Iraqi border. I had 800 soldiers under my command. We're out in the middle of nowhere, and I mean we're out in the middle of nowhere, miles and miles and miles of sand. And we're out there, and every day I would walk my gun line, because I was an artillery officer, and I had a whole battalion of artillery, and I would walk my gun line, and I'd talk to my soldiers. And I knew 800 soldiers by name, every single one of them. I'd walk and talk to them every single day. I knew that Smith over here had just had a baby boy. I'd say, hey, Smith, how's the baby doing? Have you had a chance to talk home? How's he doing? Everything okay with the wife? I knew that Jones over here, you know, was a fan of NASCAR, and I didn't know squat about NASCAR. But I'd ask him how things were going on the NASCAR circuit. Who's the hot driver right now? I knew that, you know, Swenson over here was from Detroit and liked the Detroit Lions. And I'd say, man, it sucks to be you, Swenson. You know, you're a Detroit Lions fan, man. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, you know. Of course, now it sucks to be me as a Dallas Cowboys fan. But I tried to learn something about all of my soldiers so that when I talked to them, I could connect with them in some way. And let me tell you, they knew me and I knew them. And they trusted me and I trusted them. And they knew that I would go to hell and back for them, and I knew they'd do the same for me. These were men that I would entrust my life to, and they knew that I would die for them. That's what good leaders do. You build the kinds of teams where people feel that, and they know that you care about them. And I'll tell you what, I saw that in spades just a few minutes ago with Tommy Wallace up here. You take care of your people, and your people will take care of you. Now, there are probably some of you sitting in the audience that know what this is. I know there's at least one Marine, former Marine. Where are you, Travis? Travis Kaiser, right there. Stand up, Travis. Former Marine, former commander of our Delta Company in the Corps Cadets, a company of all veterans, wounded in combat in Afghanistan, Travis Kaiser. This is a four-man stack. These four men that were up there, that now are back up there, those 4 men are about to enter a room in downtown Baghdad under some very violent conditions. And in that room are men that want to do them harm. And this is a very precise drill that we practice over and over and over again under the very experienced eyes of our non-commissioned officers, our sergeants. They train this over and over and over again because if we don't get this right, good soldiers die. Now, I want you to notice where everybody in this picture is oriented. Because what's important about, was oriented, what's important about this picture is the fact that you can see that every single man has an assigned sector of fire. And if one man fails to cover his assigned sector of fire, he puts the entire team at risk, he puts the entire mission at risk, and good soldiers could die. That's the kind of team that good leaders build. A team where everybody understands the value of their position, their job, their function in that organization. And that they all work together to ensure the success of the organization. And again, I heard a lot of that this morning when Tommy was introducing members of the team that all do phenomenal things to make the Bryan Independent School District a very strong, rock-solid, cohesive team. That's what good leaders do. And this ain't easy, folks. This is not easy. Building teams where everybody understands the role they play, values the role they play, and feels like a valued member of the team. That ain't easy. It takes good leadership to build that. And it sounds like you guys have got that in spades right here, Tommy. My hat's off to you because this ain't easy stuff. Take care of your people. And oh, by the way, Travis, I didn't mean to embarrass you, but Travis is now a member of the Bryan Independent School District, and I'm proud of him for that fact. Dealing with adversity. You guys deal with it every single day. Good leaders have got to know how to deal with adversity. And I tell you, when you're working with young people, sometimes trying to get them to understand that adversity is a part of life and that you don't throw in the towel the first time, you get knocked down, that can be difficult and challenging at times, as I'm sure you know. Because many of these young people come from very adverse backgrounds. And getting them to understand that part of life is dealing with adversity is sometimes very, very difficult. Leaders have to know how to do that. I'll tell you right now, I get a chance to talk to all the graduates who are getting ready to, all the cadets who are getting ready to graduate, and I talk to them about what the future is going to be like, what I think it might be like for them in these very uncertain times. And one of the things I tell them is, you know what? The best days of your life are all out ahead of you. You may think the best days of your life are the days you spent over the Dixie Chicken, but trust me, the best days of your life are all out in front of you, both personally and professionally. But you know what? So are the worst days of your life. The worst days of your life are also all out in front of you, both personally and professionally. And you're going to have to learn how to deal with that. Because as a leader, you don't have the luxury of wallowing in self-pity over those kinds of things. You can't. There are too many people relying on you to be that rock-solid leader that can lead them out of whatever adverse situation you're in. Adversity is a part of life, and teaching young people how to deal with that is critical to good leadership. That's what good leaders do. Anybody know what this is? Pothole. Yeah, I grew up in Houston, Texas, man. A lot of these. There are none of these in Bryan, by the way. Pothole. And the reason I put this up here is my very first battalion commander, when I went in to report to him as a brand new second lieutenant, my first outfit, he said, Joe, the road to success is full of potholes. And some of those potholes you'll be able to see and you'll be able to swerve and miss them, but some of those potholes you're not going to see and you're going to hit them. And of the ones you hit, some will cause you to have to slow down a little bit. Some may even cause you to have to pull off to the side of the road and make some minor repairs. But what's important is you never let the potholes stop you from moving down your road to success. Whatever that is, whatever you deem success to be, you never let the potholes stop you from moving down your road to success. So the moral here is life is full of potholes, and you're going to hit them. You're going to hit some of them. But what's important is you never let the potholes stop you from moving down that road to success. Now, I'm a big boxing fan. I'm going to hold that belt, by the way. I've always wanted to hold one, too. I boxed when I was in high school. I earned this nose. Probably gives you a good indication of how good a boxer I really was. But I love boxing, and I love Rocky movies. I've watched every single Rocky movie ever made, Rocky 1 through 58. I've seen them all, much to my wife's chagrin. But there's a scene in Rocky Balboa, the movie Rocky Balboa, where Rocky's talking to his son, who's a young business professional, and the son is lamenting the fact that he's not rising in the organization fast enough. He's a young businessman. He's not getting the breaks, the promotions, the pay raises, and he blames it all on his dad and the name that's this Balboa name that he's got. And Rocky looks at him and says, let me tell you something. Nothing is going to hit harder than life. It will beat you down and keep you down if you let it. But it's not how hard you can hit. It's how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How hard you can take the hits and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Powerful words. I'm going to give you another one from boxing. Getting knocked down is life. Getting back up and getting back into the fight is living. Teaching our young people how to deal with adversity is going to be critical to good leadership. It has to be. But more importantly, as a good leader, you've got to learn how to deal with adversity first. That's what good leaders do. When the bullets are flying is not the time to find out that we have a leader that doesn't know how to deal with a bad situation. All right, because your young people, your subordinates are going to be looking to you to get them out of whatever bad situation you're in. All right? Learn how to deal with adversity as a good leader. This is my favorite quote from my favorite general. There's something to be said for humility also. A positive attitude. Boy, I saw a lot of that this morning. A positive attitude. Now, for those of you who don't know, when I talk about a combat multiplier, you know, in the military, the basic combat element is the infantryman. That's the guy that we send out to close with and destroy the enemy. But to make him successful, we give him all this stuff that we call combat multipliers. We give him intelligence, engineers, tanks, artillery, close air support, combat helicopters. We give him all this stuff to give him overwhelming combat power against the enemy to make him successful. And we call those combat multipliers. Okay? A positive attitude, especially when times are darkest, is an incredible combat multiplier in your organization. How many people here have seen Winnie the Pooh? Every hand better go up. 5 kids, trust me. I've still got the VCR tapes. Winnie the Pooh, you know. Well, in Winnie the Pooh, there's this little donkey with these long, floppy ears, you know, and, oh, well, it'll probably rain anyway. I told you I'd seen Winnie the Pooh, and his name is Eeyore. Exactly, Eeyore. Well, guess what? There are people out there just like Eeyore. You may even know some. All right? They're out there, and these guys do not inspire you. They do not instill confidence in you. They're not the kind of people you want leading you, but they're out there. Don't be an Eeyore. Don't be an Eeyore. Be positive. Have that positive attitude. I told you about walking my gun line in northern Kuwait, miles and miles of sand. It's about 138 degrees was the average temperature every day. Miserably hot. And we'd be, by the way, we had no television. We had no cold beverages. We had no girls. It was pretty austere out there, I tell you. It was pretty rough. And every day I'd walk my gun line, I'd talk to my soldiers and, ask them how they were doing. And finally, some of my soldiers started to say, "Sir, how you doing?" And my answer was always the same. Doesn't get any better than this. Well, after about 3 months of walking that gun line, my soldiers began to think maybe my helmet was on a little too tight. Because I'd say, my answer was the same. "How you doing, sir?" Doesn't get any better than this. And finally, one day, one of my soldiers had the guts enough to say, "Come on, sir, you got to be kidding me." Because how can you say that every single day? It's miserable out here. It's hot. miles and miles of sand. There's no television. There's no beverages. There's no girls. You know, I mean, how can you say that? And I said, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why it's easy for me to say that. We are doing what the American people pay us to do. We are here now so our families can live in peace and safety back home. And better that we're here. Better that we're here doing this here than doing it on the streets of Boston or Kansas City or Bryan or Los Angeles. We're doing exactly what the American people expect of us. I said, that's why it doesn't get any better than this. And when I left command, they gave me a statue. It sits in my office to this day called the Commander, and on the bottom of it is inscribed, it doesn't get any better than this. A positive attitude goes a long way, especially when times are darkest. Remember, it's a combat multiplier for you and your organization. Now, part of being a leader also means somebody's watching you always. When you sit in a classroom or the cafeteria or the gym or the playground, make no mistake about it, there's a bunch of little eyes watching you all the time. They're watching you. They will mimic you. They will try to emulate you. People are watching you at all times. That's just kind of the responsibility you accept when you become a leader. Okay? Your superiors are watching you. Your peers are watching you. Your subordinates are watching you. People are watching you at all times. But probably the people that watch you the closest are those that love you the most. Moms, dads, brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, sons, daughters. They watch you too. Because I'm willing to bet they're very, very proud of you. They're proud of who you are and what you do every day. Don't ever do anything to let them down. Don't ever do anything to bring discredit to you and your family. And, you know, you can watch the news almost every day. Somebody's doing something stupid out there that brings discredit to themselves, to their family, to the organization. Don't ever do that. I mean, you've got a rock-solid independent school district here. Don't ever do anything to bring discredit to this great organization that you are a member of. Now, this picture here is very special to me. That woman sitting there on the left, that's my grandmother. Now, my grandmother grew up in San Benito, Texas. No education whatsoever, none. She raised 13 children. That was my grandmother, a housewife and a mother. That man sitting there on the right in that white suit, it's my grandfather. My grandfather was a janitor at Rice University. He used to catch the bus from the inner city of Houston, where I grew up, same house. He used to catch the bus to Rice University, where he scrubbed floors and scrubbed toilets for a living. And that man sitting next to my grandfather, it's my father. My father graduated from Sam Houston High School in Houston in 1950. And 3 days later, he joined the Army. He was going to get out of the inner city and go out and see the world. Anybody know what happened in 1950? Korea. North Korea invades South Korea in June of 1950. Bad timing. August of 1950, Private Joe Ramirez was fighting with the 1st Cavalry Division and the rest of the United Nations forces in South Korea as they began to push the North Koreans completely out of South Korea, completely out of North Korea, and all the way into China. In November 1950, my father's outfit was sitting on the Yalu River, the boundary between China and North Korea, when China entered the war. And on 4 November 1950, 300,000 Chinese came across the border. They overran my father's outfit. His platoon got cut off. They tried to fight their way back to friendly lines. They got ambushed. He was shot 5 times and was taken prisoner of war by the Chinese. Spent the next 33 months as a prisoner of war in Manchuria, China. 1,500 men died in that prisoner of war camp over those 33 months. He was repatriated in 1953, weighing 70 pounds. And went on to serve our country for 22 years, retiring in 1972 as a Master Sergeant. Now, I never forgot that in the 31 years that I wore that uniform. I never forgot where I came from. I never forgot what I represented. I never forgot the legacy that I carry forward every day that I put that uniform on. I represented that right there every single day. Now, every one of you has your own picture. Every one, I may be in color, but every one of you has your own picture that reminds you of where you come from and what you represent every day. You've got your own version of this right here. Now, we in the military, we're very notorious for wearing a lot of bling on our uniforms, you know, ribbons and badges and medals and cords and all kinds of stuff like that. But in my humble opinion, the most important thing that I wear in my uniform every day is that name tag right there. Because that name tag is that right there, that picture that was showing up there just a few minutes ago. That's what this is. Every one of you has a name tag. Whether you wear it openly or not, every one of you's got a name tag. People know your name. They know where you come from and what you represent. Don't ever do anything to bring discredit to yourself, to your family, and to this great organization called Bryan ISD. Don't ever do that. Remember that you're a leader and that people are watching you at all times. Oh, by the way, I don't know how many of you have ever grown up with a master sergeant. I did. And to this day, when the general goes home to see the old master sergeant at the same house I grew up in inner city Houston, it doesn't matter how many stars I've got in my uniform. When the old master sergeant says, take out the trash, the general takes out the trash. Some things will never change. All right, I put this slide up here because this is what, when I'm talking to the graduates, those who are in the cadet corps getting ready to go out and make their mark in the world, I show them this quote. And this is a quote from a speech that Theodore Roosevelt gave to the graduating class of the U.S. Naval Academy in 1910. And I use it today because I think it's as relevant today as it was back then. Okay? And in my humble opinion, just as relevant in your schools and in your organization. This is no longer a time for this country to be producing merely average or good citizens. We can no longer afford that. This is a time when we must be producing great citizens and great leaders. You have the responsibility of creating great citizens and great leaders for the future. Probably the most important responsibility you've got. The future of our country is in your hands every single day. And we can no longer afford merely average or good. That's not good enough anymore. Not in this world. You've got to be producing greatness every single day. A daunting task. But I got to tell you, after seeing this group today, you guys are up to the challenge. We have got to be producing great leaders. And why? Our country's been at war for 15 years now. 15 years. A war I participated in, a war my son participated in. 3 deployments, 1 to Iraq, 2 to Afghanistan. We are still coming out of the worst economic crisis our country has seen since the Great Depression of the 1930s. And politically, I've seen more educated debates on elementary school playgrounds I am not a politician by any means, thank God, but politically we are in tough times right now. Our country is as divided as you can possibly get. Tough times for our country, but I firmly believe that if we continue to produce great citizens and great leaders, this country is going to be okay in the future. And that responsibility rests heavily with a lot of you sitting in this room. No longer a time for merely average or good. We've got to be producing great. This is my last slide. Now, I don't mean to be morbid by any means, but one of these days, every one of us is going to have one of these over us. And when you look at a tombstone, you see 2 things on it. You see the name and you see the dates. And there's always 2 dates on a tombstone. And the first one is birth. The second one, death. Exactly. So, you look at a tombstone, you say, okay, the guy's name is Ramirez. Let me do the math. He lived to be 179 years old. man, that guy led a good life. And you walk away. Everybody that looks at a tombstone always overlooks that little line in between those two dates called the dash. And why is that dash important? Well, that dash represents every day, every week, every month, and every year of your life between that first date and that second date. That dash is your life. So I'll ask you, the way I ask the graduates who are getting ready to go out into the world, how are you going to live your dash? What are you going to do with your dash? One of these days, when they put one of these over you, what are people going to say about your dash? Because if they put one of these over Joe Ramirez tomorrow, Joe Ramirez can say unequivocally, I'm pretty happy with the way I live my dash. You know, and my dash, quite frankly, began when I came to Texas A&M University. I grew up in inner city Houston. I was a gangbanger. Got in trouble with the law as a young man. Did some pretty stupid things as a young man that I'm not too proud of today. My brother went to prison for 2.5 years, and I was right behind him. Doing everything wrong in my life, despite the fact that I had a mom and a dad that loved me and wanted me to be the first member ever of our family to go to college. And I got an opportunity and took it. And it changed my life. And it gave me an opportunity to live my dash in a way that I never dreamed possible, because I got an opportunity to get an education that nobody in my family had ever gotten before. You have an impact on somebody's dash every single day. Make it count. Make it count. Because one of these days, some young man or some woman is going to be standing up on a stage like this and saying, I remember Miss So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so who was my teacher, who gave me the inspiration to lead the life that I live today. It happens every day. So it's not just a matter of how are you going to live your dash, how are you going to impact the dashes of those young people who are entrusted to you every single day. Make it count. Now I'm going to finish with a quick story. I know I've probably talked way too long, and I apologize, Tommy, but I'm going to finish with a story here that I hope will kind of bring all this home for you. Anytime a soldier is killed in Iraq or Afghanistan, the Army sends a general officer to preside over that funeral. Now, when I became a general officer, I presided over 5 funerals. And it's one of those things you hate to do, but it's also one of those things you're honored to do, to pay respects to a young man or woman who's paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country. I was the deputy commander for a guy by the name of Dave Petraeus, and I got a call saying, well, we've just had a young lieutenant killed in Karbala, Iraq, and we'd like you to preside over the funeral. And of course I said I'd be honored to do so. And they send you all this information, they send you a packet, and I'm reading through this packet. This young man was an artillery officer, just like I was. He was the oldest of 3 brothers. He was a West Point graduate. The middle brother was a junior at West Point at the time, and the youngest brother was in junior high, and all he wanted to do was go to West Point like his brothers and be an Army officer. He'd been killed in Karbala, Iraq. His family was from a small town in the heartland of America called Verdun, Nebraska. And so I get all the information and say, okay, we're going to Verdun, Nebraska. I get the date of the funeral, and we head to Verdun, Nebraska. It's January. It's freezing cold. There's snow on the ground. It's about 8 degrees outside, miserably cold. And I pull into this small farming community in Nebraska. And in the middle of the town is an arena where they show cattle and horses, and that's where they're going to hold the memorial service. So I walk into this arena. 1,500 people are in this arena to honor this young man, to include the governor, the lieutenant governor, and at the time, Senator Chuck Hagel, all there to honor this young man. Family comes out. Mom and dad are my age, almost exactly my age. Beautiful service. Those buddies of his that weren't currently deployed were there to speak on his behalf. It's a beautiful service. And at the end of that service, I've got to present the mom and dad with the young man's medals. And that was hard for me because at the time I was the father of 2 soldiers. And I just couldn't imagine the grief that this family was feeling at that time. But I went up there and I did my duty. I presented those medals, tried to maintain my composure, understanding that I was representing the Chief of Staff of the Army and the Secretary of the Army in what I was doing. I present those medals to the family, and then I quickly slip out the side door because I've got to get in my vehicle and head out to the gravesite because that's where everybody's going to come and we're going to render final military honors. I get in my sedan, which thankfully was heated. I get in there and we head off to the gravesite. 2 miles down the road. We start heading down that road. All along the side of the road, on both sides of the road, are men, women, and children holding American flags. All the way to the gravesite. And I freely admit, I got a lump in my throat, and I looked at the driver and I said, you won't see this on the 5 o'clock news, but you should. Because this is our country. This is what makes our country great, that regardless of your political affiliation, you're still willing to come stand out here in these conditions to honor a young man that paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country. We get out to the gravesite. They got an honor guard detail there from the 82nd Airborne Division at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I get out and I meet the non-commissioned officer in charge, and he's got this team. They're all set. They're ready to go. And within 30 minutes, that whole entourage from the memorial service comes out there to the gravesite, to include a group on motorcycles called the Patriot Guard. Yeah, great Americans. Great Americans. I tell you, these guys are all veterans, and they came there just in case any of these wackos from the Westboro Baptist Church showed up. Too cold, they didn't show up. But the Patriot Guard were there. It was unbelievable to see all these people show up at the gravesite where we render final military honors. They do the 21-gun salute. The bugler plays taps. That honor guard takes that American flag off that young man's coffin and folds it. And the NCOIC hands that flag to me. And my last official function at that gravesite is to hand that flag to that mother. Now, normally when you do that, you say something along the lines of, on behalf of the President of the United States and a grateful nation, we present this flag to you in grateful thanks for your son's service to our country, something along those lines. I didn't do that. I got down on my knee in front of that mother. I handed her that flag and I said, ma'am, I know there's nothing I can say that can assuage the loss you must feel right now. But I hope you know how grateful a nation we are for the sacrifice that your family has made for our country. And that when you see this flag, you'll remember what a fine young man you raised and how we will always be indebted to him for his sacrifice for all of us. And that mother looked at me at a moment that I couldn't even imagine as a parent and said, General, thank you and all of our soldiers for what you do for our country every day. And don't you worry, I'm going to keep sending you my sons. Well, rule number 1 is generals don't cry. Well, I had a bad case of allergies that day. I freely admit that it may have been 8 degrees out there and snow on the ground, but something was kicking up. I had to get up and walk away. Those words shook me. I had to get up and walk away, and those words haunted me for years. Well, fast forward to 5 years ago, and I'm the brand new commandant at Texas A&M University, welcoming all the new cadets as they're coming in, and I'm in there proudly shaking hands and finding out where everybody's from and what unit they're going to and what they're going to major in, and just great day. And I'm standing there, and up walks this big strapping young man. I said, how you doing there, young man? And he said, sir, I'm doing great. And I said, what's your name? He tells me his name. I said, where are you from? Verdon, Nebraska, sir. And I looked at him. I said, where are you from? He said, sir, I'm from Verdon, Nebraska. And I was about to ask him his name again. I looked to his right. There's that mother. Well, allergies that day too. We sat there in the Core Center, and we cried, and we talked about that day. And when I finally regained my composure, I took a step back and I said, "Why are you here?" She said, "General, I never forgot what you told me that day and how much it meant to my family. And when I found out you were here, I wanted my son to come be a part of what you have to offer and this Aggie thing that you guys have." She said, "I wanted him to come be a part of this. I didn't want him to go to West Point like his older brothers. I wanted him to come here." Well, of course, I looked at him and I said, "Let me tell you something, young man. If we bring in 800 freshmen and 799 of them quit, you ain't going to be one of them." I said, "I will chase you to Verdon, Nebraska and drag your ass back down here, butt back here." That young man graduated last May, and I got the honor to go to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and watch him graduate from the Field Artillery Officer Basic course like his brother. He's now a platoon leader serving in the Republic of Korea, and I talked to him on email. He's doing great, doing well. That mother was my guest for a football game, at least one every year that he was here. And I showed her what real football was all about. I showed her what real barbecue was all about, what real Mexican food was all about, and especially what real margaritas were all about. And the reason I tell you that is because never underestimate the impact you can have on someone's life with just the smallest gesture, a kind word, a pat on the back to say you done good, a handshake to say thank you, grabbing that young person by the shoulders and looking them in the eye and say, "You can do this. I know you can. I have faith in you. I have confidence in you." Just taking the time to listen to young people. Never underestimate the impact you can have on these young people's lives. You take care of your people, and your people will take care of you. I thank all of you for what you do every day for our young people. God bless all of you. God bless the great state of Texas, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
Come back down, man. Come on. Uh-oh. Hello? Oh, that was a rock-solid speech right there, wasn't it? That was good. On behalf of Bryan ISD, we have a present for you, and I'm guessing this bandana must have came from Brandon. We're not going to ask you to put it on and look like Rambo, but General, thank you very much for what you've done, for your service, for your speech today, because I think that we can all take what he said, apply it to our classrooms, because it's just not leadership from a board or from a district. You're all leaders. You're all leading your classrooms. You all lead our children. And so, General Ramirez, thank you very much, and we appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I've heard Joe talk several times. Stand up. You've been sitting a while. Stand up. We're fixing to do something, and we're going to launch. Like I said, I pray and hope that you have a fantastic year. As adversity hits, I pray that you will stand strong. If you did not get a rock when you came in, please pick one up. I had one person that had such guts. She said, "Now, is this supposed to be a reminder of your head?" Well, her job is posted already. I'm teasing. Let me tell you about that rock. I'm asking you to put that on your desk. I'm asking you to put it somewhere that you can see it, because hard times are going to come this year. Obstacles are going to come this year. And I want you to look down at that rock and remember what General Ramirez said and remember the impact that you have, and also understand that our team of one, our Bryan ISD team, is here to support you and be with you and to get you through anything that happens. That's what teams do, that's what families do, and that's what we are. So our launch, everybody get close together, scoot in. We're going to go across the aisle. We're not going to sing Kumbaya. Now, y'all are going to have to get close. So, Board of Trustees, I'm going to ask you to come up here on the stage with me. Board. Joe, come on up with us. No, we're going to be all the way across. Joe, stand right here. We're going to come right here. Okay. So, yeah, get close. Get close. Matt, where are you? Matt, if you'll get up here and get our this is our class picture. And so if you'll get one from out there all the way out. Now look, I've done some reading on leadership and team building and all that. Yeah, keep coming close, like we're going to fill in the gaps. And what I have read is that, and Joe, don't get mad at me, it's a Navy thing. When the SEALs are doing their training, they lock arms. And I'm sure that's a lot of special forces, but I was reading about the SEALs, they lock arms. Okay, and the reason that they do that is when they're doing their training in the Pacific Ocean, it's cold. So they do it, one, to resonate heat with one another, and the second is so when you're in the ocean, what happens? Well, you start moving, and they stay together as one. Now, I've also done a little bit more reading that when they're dropped into the ocean or someplace, they also will clip. Because if it's nighttime and they're not picked up, you know that the ocean and the current is strong. And if it's out in the middle of the night, guess what? Oh, you wake up in the morning and you're still in the water. That current has taken our team and taken the team completely apart, and we're completely separated. Does that make sense? So what we're going to do and how we're going to launch today is this. Because when they're together, I want you to think about something. The question may be asked. They'll say, "Are you good?" Now, that question could be because of one of two things. Number one, they're asking because they want to know, are you good? The second reason they may ask that question, are you good, is sometimes you ask that question because you need the response back. Sometimes things happen and you ask, are you good, because you need the response back. Well, yeah, I'm good, but you need the affirmation of, are you good? Sometimes you ask that question because you need that response and you need somebody to ask you if you're good. And so sometimes it's like my dog, it's like either they get my attention in the good way or the bad way, and so she'll jump in my lap knowing that's the bad way. But so sometimes you ask that question, are you good, to get that other response and to make you really realize that we need to lift somebody up. So in the military, in these SEALs, what they'll say is, they'll say, are you good? And they'll say, yes, are you good? Okay, and then in return, then I would come back and say, but are you sure you're good? Because a lot of times it's just lip service, right? How are you doing? Are you good? Oh, I'm good. And deep down, you're in turmoil, you're frustrated, you're stressed out, and everything else, right? So then they come back and they say, are you sure you're good? And then they say, yes, I'm sure I'm good. And the person who started says, then that means we are, and this is where it comes from, rock solid. So I'm going to launch you like this. Matt, have you got our team picture yet? Good. I want you to lock arms. Now, don't put your arm around me, girl. Lock arms with me. You're always flirting with Ms. Benford.
I'm good.
I got the microphone. Don't you hate that? All right. So as we launch today with the board up here, with the trustees, and with General Joe Ramirez up here, I ask you this. Are you good? Man, after today, I'm fantastic, but are you sure you're good? Yes. You did pretty good there, but then it kind of slacked off, kind of like that chant over there a while ago. All right. So let's try this again and make sure. I'm just teasing. I'll be at your school today, Eden. All right, one more time. Remember. All right, so after today, are you good? Man, I am great after today, but really, are you sure you're good?
Yes. Are you sure you're good?
I am. So if that's the case, we're what?
Rock solid.
Have a great year. Thank you very much.